Gather round, one and all, because this is Acadius, and it is once again time to have a conversation. This time about Mortal Online 2.
Wait, what in the hell's going on here? Janky ass game?
Also in this video, I will continue to address the question of why full loot PvP MMORPGs fail. Now at the time of this video's release, MO2 is sitting at around 1,200 average players. It seems to peak at about 1,700 players, and considering that the new territory control expansion just released and it was at like 1,680, I think that's probably going to be about topped out. So I think at this point it's pretty safe to say that this game is all but dead and buried. This game is stuck on life support in a vegetative state. So why did the game fail? Is it because it has a full PvP system in it, and the amount of players who enjoy that system is minuscule compared to the casual player base? Or is it simply because the game is totally friggin' terrible? Let's find out. And I'm going to start by getting the nitpicky bullshit out of the way. So, first on the list, there is no global chat. There used to be a global chat, but apparently some people got into a political debate. Devs didn't really like that, so on a definitely total smooth brain move, a ham-fisted stroke of idiocy, they decided to solve that issue by removing global chat completely. Then they smokescreened that decision by claiming that global chat was just too immersion breaking to have in the game. Naturally, this has caused a long-running joke to start throughout the community, and so I will be upholding this time-honored tradition throughout my video. So, they removed global chat, but they didn't remove help chat. So, what did players do? I bet you can't guess. Who could possibly know? I'll tell you. Are you ready for it? Yeah, you got it. Players started talking in help chat. Because it's global. Duh. And I'm sure your mind is blown right now like, whoa. So, what did the devs do with their infinitely smooth brains? Well, they started banning players from using help chat, which just ensures that those players can no longer help any of the new players in the future, which was the whole point of the help chat to begin with. Real big brain play right there. Top notch decision making so far. Because global chat is immersion breaking, but help chat isn't. And next up, you can see the sun through entire mountains. It's so immersive. The devs have said that they don't know how to fix it, but they believe that when they finally migrate to UE5, it's going to magically fix itself somehow. I mean, maybe, but I don't think it's going to work that way. Pretty sure that's not how that works. But you know what? I've never developed a game before, so what do I know? Also, the dungeons are pretty boring and drab looking. The caves are the worst. Mostly full of spiders, and everything looks the same. If you've seen one, then you've seen them all. Dungeons that look kinda interesting aren't really that big. Now, targeting other players can actually be a nightmare. You have to use a tiny dot in the center of your screen to target with. And the moment that dot moves off of whatever you're trying to target, you lose your target. And this is made even worse when you try and target someone riding towards you on a horse, because the horse's head constantly bobs up and down into and out of your sight line of your targeting reticle. Imagine having to perfectly track your guildmate during a PvP fight in order to heal them, but at the last second, the enemy gets in the way, or maybe your buddy just moves right out of your way and then it hits your targeting reticle, touches your enemy, and then you heal them instead. Immersive healing! Perhaps you're a mage, and just before your huge spell finishes casting, one of your frontliners steps just a little to the left, gets in the way, falls over dead. Immersive spell casting! Yes! And the last bit of nitpicking that I want to do is about the overinflated material numbers and the oversimplified weight numbers. It's really ham-fisted. Both of these are leaked, so you'll see here in a sec. So all items that are stackable can be stacked up to 10,000. And every stack of 10K will always weigh 100 kilograms. 10,000 pieces of meat, 100 kilograms. 10,000 chunks of rock, 100 kilograms. 10,000 strips of cloth and bandages, 100 kilograms. Why would they do this, you may wonder? Because it's easier. Because they're lazy. But let's be honest. Every item having the same weight, regardless of what type of item it is, helps improve immersion. And with all that out of the way, it's time to discuss the big stuff. Skills, crafting, and finally, PvP. First up, crafting. In MO2, it can either be easy and fun, or tedious, grindy, and frustrating, depending on your profession choice. And on the surface, crafting can appear to be pretty good. Learning how to piece together weapons and armor in order to get the best results can certainly be fun and rewarding, but let's go a bit deeper here. Let's suppose that you're a blacksmith in particular, and by extension, a miner. What would your gameplay loop look like? Well, let's take a look. So, let's grab some mining picks and set out on our journey. We're going to make some money. We're going to be the best blacksmith ever. Let's go have some fun. You exit the safety of town with excitement in your eyes, mining picks in hand, and run up to the nearest rock wall. And you start swinging. And you swing. And you swing. And you swing some more. But what are you really doing? Staring at a rock wall for hours and hours. Remember, this is a first-person perspective game here, okay? So you're just in this little window staring at a rock wall. So fun. If you try and look around, it will interrupt your mining process, and you'll have to restart it again. So you don't even get to look around and look at the pretty trees and the pretty grass. Or nope, nope, nope. Stare at a rock wall. Let's just hope that, no one sneaks up behind you during this process. Starts whacking you in the back of the head so they can take all the stuff you just gathered for the last how many hours.
How fun!
Now, let's say you've gathered a full stack or more of granite rock. Now, it's time to process those rocks. Let's run on over to the nearest crusher. Pop in that stack of 10K. But wait, we knew this would take a while. We thought ahead, so we brought a pack horse along so we could gather the max amount, which is 6 stacks, 60,000 granite. Okay, and so it begins, 1 stack at a time. Each time we process a stack, we are forced to wait a set amount of time, and as our skills go up, the time does go down, but not by much. So we finish our processing. We take our resulting materials to the bank, and what can we do with these materials? What can we do? Absolutely fucking nothing! Why not? Well, we don't have enough of the materials. We gotta go back out and do it again. Probably have to do that 3, 4, 5 times if you want to get enough to do anything with. And I recommend you doing everything with a full stack here. You're gonna waste materials. You see, material processing in MO2 is designed so that the player needs to combine a certain amount of material with a certain amount of catalyst in order to maximize the yield of the resulting material. So, how do you know how much of each to mix together? Well, the devs imagined that we would figure it out ourselves through meticulous experimentation. And this would provide a rewarding experience to the players who figure it out. But meticulous experimentation costs a lot of resources. And after all the time spent gathering the absurd amount of resources we're gonna need, the last thing we want to do is waste resources during the processing phase. So that isn't what we're gonna be doing today. Instead, we're just gonna look it up on Google, because I'm a good little gamer and I know how to use Google search. Imagine that! Thank goodness for that, right? Who in the hell, in their infinite wisdom, could have possibly predicted that players would do this? Right, Henrik? Duh! Anyways, I just want to state what our goal is here. Trying to get into refining steel, because steel is considered the standard material to craft weapons and armor with. Now, there are materials that are better, higher grade than steel, but you don't typically see people running around with that. It's really hard to get. Steel is what everybody wants. That's the prime material. So, back out we go for more runs. In fact, many more runs. In order to get steel, we first need blood ore, which we get from the granum we've already been farming. But in order to process blood ore into pig iron, we need 390 coke. No, not that kind of coke. So, we got our 10,000 blood ore, but we still need that damned coke. And coke comes from processing coal, which in turn comes from processing calx ore. Yay! Even more staring at rock walls. Can't friggin' wait. And now we have 6 stacks of calx ore, and we process it using the crusher, which gives us 2,151 coal per 10,000 calx if you're at maximum lore and gathering skills. Then you can take a 10,000 stack of coal to the furnace and use 717 calx powder as a catalyst to get 7,200 coke. Finally, we can process our 10,000 blood ore with 390 coke in a furnace to receive 4,000 pig iron. But we're after steel. So now we repeat all this until we have 10,000 pig iron, so we can refine it into grain steel. But to do that, we're going to need 5,000 coke and 5,000 calx powder, which gives us 7,000 grain steel. Now, after repeating those processes several more times, we have 10,000 grain steel. But we still need 5,000 coal, not coke, and 5,000 Sabura powder in order to get our steel. Now, how do you get Sabura powder, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you. Travel all the way down to the one place in the world that has Sabura ore, which is Meduli, and the immediate area around it. There are no real granum or calx deposits around Meduli, so you have to travel to different spots to farm different minerals all across the world, and I won't even be discussing the higher tiers of minerals in this video and where they are, because it's just pointless. It would be a waste of time to talk about it in the same way that it's a waste of time to even bother gathering those minerals. And so we begin our long and probably quite perilous journey over to Meduli to get some Sabura ore, just to go all the way back where we came from in order to visit the crusher once again, so we can get some Sabura powder, so we can finally make steel. And why do we have to go back? Because none of the banks are linked together like they were in UO. So, finally, it's time to begin processing steel. Now, were you paying attention to the timers at the top of the screen? Once you start adding those timers up, then you begin to understand the absurd level of time gating that goes on in this game. Let's put it this way. In order to process around 600,000 granum down into steel, assuming you have all the other materials you need ready to go, you might get done in about 3 to 4 hours. That's 3 to 4 hours of standing around in town doing nothing but waiting on a machine to finish its cycle over and over and over. And this doesn't count travel times or gathering times, which are way longer. Way longer. It also doesn't count lost material and time due to being ganked. It's just pure processing time. And you would be forgiven for thinking you can save materials by repairing your gear. Duh. Yeah, no. No, you can't repair any equipment in MO2. If it's about to break, you just delete it. And why can't you repair in MO2? Because being able to repair and maintain equipment before going on an adventure would be way too immersive. There's no way that players could even handle that level of immersion. The devs don't allow it for safety purposes, guys. Safety purposes. And for those who are wondering why I'm talking about 600,000 granum, just keep in mind that one stack is 10,000. The numbers are overinflated. You know, if you took some zeros off the end, then it would make it more understandable. You know, like, why did you make these numbers so big? I have no idea. And 600,000 granum isn't going to give you that much steel. I hate to burst your bubble here, but you're not going to be swimming in steel just because you process 600,000 granum. That's not how that works. So, skills. Everything gets a skill. Jumping is a skill. Running is a skill. Even breathing is a skill. Level up your inner demon slayer by leveling up your breathing technique. And here, I thought breathing was involuntary. Silly me. You gotta work at it, guys, if you want to breathe. So, let's say you want to be an archer. Okay, cool. Duh. You stand on the ground and shoot a bow to raise your archery skill. Then you do it again on a horse to raise your mounted archery skill. Otherwise, your arrows won't do very much damage. You could be max skill in archery, but if you have no mounted archery skill, as soon as you get on a horse, arrows do no damage. Makes perfect sense. It's immersive. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure an arrow in your chest is going to hurt the same no matter if it's shot by a novice or an expert. But, yeah, what do I know? Because immersion. That's right. That's why. That's always the reason. And some of these skills are in multiple places, which just adds to the confusion. And I haven't even gotten into the mind-numbing profession skills and lore skills, and I'm not going to be honest. I don't want to get bogged down explaining all the lore skills and the profession skills and how they work together in this video, because it'd probably add another half hour or so to the runtime, but I'll skim over them, so take a look for yourself. In MO2, you can buy skill books that you can read to passively gain skill, which could take between 7-ish hours up to 90 or more hours to complete a single book. I've seen 400 something hours. I've seen 999 hours. Are you serious right now? And you know what? Fighting monsters while reading a good book, immersive. I just get this picture of like a sword and board warrior killing monsters while yawning and turning a page on a book that they're reading all at the same time. Maybe a mage dual wielding a spell tome and an Anne Rice novel. Yes. And that brings us to PvP. At long last, the reason why we're all here. And my first gripe is that people can technically murder you while you're in town due to certain parts of towns having terrible guard placements and patrol paths, which was impossible in Ultima Online. If a player attacked another player in UO, you could call the guards, other players could call the guards. Even a nearby NPC would automatically call the guards on your behalf, and then those guards would teleport directly onto their face and instantly kill them. Guilds in PvP just run around in large groups and just zerg anyone and everyone that they come across that they outnumber. Not like it never happened in UO. It was just kind of rare. And even when it's just one dude jumping you from behind while you're mining, well, what are you going to do about it? Because by the time you stop your mining and put away your mining pick and then pull out your weapon and turn around to defend yourself, you're almost dead already. And then, by the time you get rezzed in town, and you go to your bank, and you get equipped for a fight, and then get back to where you died, that player or group of players is long gone. And in UO, you could use your tracking skill to figure out where they went and attempt to get your vengeance or whatever. You had a potential path to justice or vindication, but not in MO2. Also, there are no real repercussions for murdering other players. If you murder a player near a city or town, then you lose reputation with that city or town, and if your rep goes too low, then you'll be attacked on sight by that particular town's guards. But you can cancel that out by running repeatable messenger quests from a different town to the town that you need rep with. But you don't even need to worry about doing that much work after you get a house and furnish it. Not only does MO2 have multiple lawless towns that have no guards, but it allows you to furnish houses complete with crafting stations and your own personal res priest. This completely removes the need to visit a town at all. But to be fair, you could craft in your houses in Ultima Online, but you could not place a res priest in your house. Now, some unscrupulous players did trap res priests in their house in the beginning days, but that got fixed and those people eventually got banned. And as a murderer, you couldn't just res from any old priest NPC you came across. You had to specifically find a red wandering healer out in the world somewhere, and they weren't super common. There also was no reputation system connected to towns, so if you went red, you were killed on sight by all towns with guards, and there was only a single lawless town in the entire game. If you're a murderer in MO2, then your name will appear blue to other players, unless you have recently committed a criminal action. But in UO, your name would always appear red, no matter what, at all times. This would provide an immediate alert to other players that a PK is heading towards them, but not in MO2. And if you died in UO while red, you would lose 10% to all skills and stats permanently, and you would be forced to rework them all back up again. But there's no skill or stat loss for murderers in MO2, and for every kill count a PK gets in MO2, they have to wait 6 hours of real time for that count to fall off. But in UO, it was 24 hours. And MO2 being a first-person perspective game instead of an isometric or third-person game just makes everything that much more difficult and frustrating. So, let's pull all this together. This game is a first-person perspective game with a finicky targeting system that doesn't make PK player names always colored red and doesn't have permanent skill or stat loss for PKs. It doesn't allow players to track down their killers. The PvE is boring. It has insane time gating for blacksmiths, and town guards are severely nerfed compared to UO because they have travel time to reach their target, and they don't insta-kill, and they aren't invulnerable. It allows PKs to just res in their own homes, and they severely nerfed the kill count timer. I imagine some of you hardcore MO2 players might be watching this video thinking,
Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. This is the intention of the game. MO2 is a different game than Ultima Online. It doesn't need to change at all.
okay, well, don't take my word for it. How about you take the word of the most notorious PKer in MO2 right now, Tatsuya. Let's see what Tatsuya thinks about the whole thing. If you could start off by kind of introducing yourself.
My name's Tatsuya. I'm a great lord in these lands. I've murdered over 2,000 people, and yeah.
Right on. How many hours do you think you have played in MO2?
About 4,300.
Did you play the original MO1?
No. I didn't play that.
Did you play Ultima Online?
No, I didn't play Ultima Online.
Alright, so at over 2,000 kills, you're pretty much perma-red. Do you have any plans to do anything about that?
Um, even if I wanted to do something about that, there's nothing I can really do. It's just, yeah, I think I would, if I don't know the exact math, I haven't done it recently, but I would assume it would probably be leaving my account online for at least a year and a half or 2 years, maybe more, if I wanted to get rid of that. So yeah, I'm permanently red forever.
Do you feel like the PvP system in MO2 is well balanced, or do you think it's more tipped in favor of the person initiating combat?
Oh, it's not balanced at all. It's completely unbalanced, the PvP in this game. It's mainly in favor of who picks the right build or who has the most people. But I mean, I could sit here and talk for an hour about everything that's unbalanced in the game. It's a bit of a never-ending story.
If Star Vault implemented a 10% skill stat loss to players that died while red, would you continue to play as a PK?
Well, I wouldn't really have a choice unless I wanted to like re-roll, which I wouldn't do. So yeah, I think I would still continue to play it this way. Yeah, I think I would. Yeah.
So if it was, let's say it was like back to the beginning and that's how it was, and you're starting fresh, would you do anything differently?
No, I think. No, I don't think I would. I think the only fun thing to do in this game is to kill other people. If I wanted to do like fun PvE, I'd play Skyrim. If I wanted to, I think it's all about the interaction, the VoIP, and the killing people, the reactions, the mystery of the loot bags. But that's just my personal opinion.
All right, and last question. With so many kills under your belt and so many hours that it would take for all that to fall off, do you feel any repercussions whatsoever for being a permanent red and hated in almost all the towns in the game? Or is that offset by the systems, the other systems they have in the game, like the parcels and res priests in your house and stuff?
There definitely is punishments, and it definitely does suck. But personally, I think that I shouldn't be allowed to be in any towns. And I'm pretty sure Starvold are going to change that, and they're going to make it so that if you have like 2,000 murder counts like me, you will be able to not go into any towns. You won't be able to enter any towns, which I think makes more sense. And I think I should have a title as well that says, you know, fucking whatever it is, you know, like the Wicked or something, you know, something that shows that I've murdered a lot of people, so it gives a bit of a warning to the new players. Heck, even give me a red name, you know, give me a red name, give me some notoriety for being an absolute murderer in these lands. I think, you know, I think that would be a lot better.
Yeah, they actually had that in Ultima Online, where your name would be permanently red. You were hated in all towns, didn't matter what you did. And then they had the famed karma system, where you would be like, you know, the Dreadlord Tatsuya, which at this point you probably would be a Dreadlord.
Yeah. I would love something like that. That would be good.
Right on, man. Well, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
That's not a problem.
Goodbye.
There you go. Yeah, I gotta teleport back to town. I find it extremely interesting that without prior knowledge of MO1 or Ultima Online, Tatsuya is still able to come up with the exact same solutions that UO had back in the day, but for some reason, Starfault is incapable of doing the same thing. So, did MO2 fail because it's a game that is based on a full loop PvP system, and the amount of MMO players that enjoy that type of game is minuscule, as Josh Strife Hayes would have you believe? Or did it fail because it's just an objectively terrible game? In order to try and remain as unbiased as possible, it is currently impossible to say anything with absolute certainty, because there hasn't been a good MMO with a full loop PvP system made since Ultima Online. And until another MMO is released that isn't super flawed like MO2, and the game's PvE is a ton of fun to experience, then I personally feel that it's a bit disingenuous to say either way for certain. But it's my belief that MO2 failed because it's terrible, and as a half-baked PvP system that gives all the advantages to the person ganking and none to the person being ganked. and this makes the game more frustrating to play than it is fun. And anytime the amount of fun that a player is having gets surpassed by the amount of frustration that they are experiencing, then you're going to see the player base start to tank. Those who do not learn from history are destined to repeat it. This sentiment is especially true in the gaming industry. And when you have a team of developers who refuse to learn the lessons that UO taught us, while also designing a game based on Ultima Online, then you have a recipe for disaster. Shouldn't the college that these people went to have taught them this? Come to think of it, what college did they even go to? I found myself wondering this very question. After a lot of digging, I think I may have found an advertisement for that very college. And suddenly, as I watched it, things started to make sense. And here it is for you to enjoy. As always, if you like this video, then like this video. Feel free to start a conversation in the comment section below, and please subscribe to make sure you don't miss any new content. And I will see you in my next video, where I will be discussing why New World may have always been doomed to fail.
Hi, I'm Guy Reardon, Dean of Students here at the University of College. To give you a better chance of getting in, we've simplified our application process. Congratulations, you've been accepted. All you have to do is sign the application, which is a check for $12,000. It's just that simple. Want to check out your new school? And come on, let's go. U of College was founded in 1822 by Jimmy Winthrop after he was rejected by every school in America on the basis that he was illiterate and violent. So Jimmy decided to start a college that he could get into. People always wonder why we spell college with a D. Well, Jimmy was quite stubborn, which explains his infamous quote.
I think I know how to spell college, pal.
It also explains our mascot, the extra D. Class sizes are kept small here at the University of College because attendance is not mandatory for students or teachers. If someone does decide to show up, we teach a progressive curriculum based entirely on student suggestions and episodes of The Simpsons. Finally, we believe you should work at your own pace. So whenever you feel you're finished, page us, and we'll fax you your diploma. So again, congratulations, and welcome.
The University of College. I think we know how to spell college, pal.